Good evening, everyone. I can see some regular faces here. Hi, Emma. How are you, Emma? Say hello, everyone. Thanks. Hi, Susie. How are you, Susie? Nice to see you again, Susie. Hi, Roslyn. Good to see you again, Roslyn. Hi, Carmen. Nice to see you again, Carmen. Lydia, nice to see you again. Priya, it's good to see you. Faiza Ahmad, it's good to see you again. All smiles. I hope you've been studying hard, Faiza. Zalmin, good to see you again, Zalmin. Nice to see you sitting up today with the lights on so you can see my PowerPoint. Good man. Thank you, Carmen. All right, guys, today we're going to be looking at a very interesting subject called negotiation skills. And negotiation skills plays a very, very important part in any business organization or in any business stratosphere or in any business situation at all. Not only in a business stratosphere, but also in your personal lives, in your personal space. Every day of your personal life, you in some way engage in negotiation of some kind, whether it's trying to convince your boyfriend to marry you, whether it's trying to convince your girlfriend to marry you, whether it's trying to convince your wife to let you go out with your mates and get drunk. Every single day you face some sort of negotiation in your life. So no matter whether it's a business stratosphere or just your personal life and personal space, it's something that you will endure the requirement to negotiate in. Amal Arif, very nice to see you again, Amal. Me and you have to catch up by phone soon, Amal. I tried to call you based on your email. I couldn't reach you. Please message me today and let me know what time you're free, and I will definitely answer your question by email question. Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to negotiation skills. Negotiation skills has been around for years, and many people say that they know how to negotiate, but negotiation is more than just talking to people. The art of negotiation is something that politicians all over the world practice, whether it's Mr. Duterte when he was a ruling president in the Philippines, or whether Donald Trump, as most people call him, Donald Duck, who had no negotiation skills whatsoever. He was an enforcer. Um, or whether it's my good friend or great enemy, Mr. Putin in Russia. He, again, people don't call him a negotiator. He's a communist enforcer. So what is negotiation? What makes you a good negotiator? Does everybody know how to negotiate, or is negotiation a skill that you have to learn? Academic answer to that is not everybody can negotiate. Many of you think you know how to negotiate. Many of you don't know how to negotiate. Let me just ask you, how many of you young guys here, there's about 12 on my screen at the moment, how many of you are currently dating someone and still talking about whether to get married or not? Can you wave your hands to me? Only one? Wow, you guys are really good. All right, only one of you. So that is one of the most difficult negotiations you probably go through in life. The next most difficult negotiation you'll go through in life is try to get the right salary for the job you want, or negotiate to buy your own house. Every day you'll negotiate. How many of you have kids here? Jesucito, you have kids, right? Jesucito, Chaville, you have kids. Great. 4. Wow. Lucky man, Mr. Jesucito. Every day you guys negotiate with your kids. Am I right, Chaville? Shavili every day negotiates with her kids. I know my 6-year-old daughter puts me through a negotiation round every night because she doesn't want to go to sleep. And she negotiates that if I let her stay up an extra half an hour, she'll love me more and give me an extra kiss. But she's trying her skills at negotiation. Don't be surprised, Tanagaran, when you have kids one day, it will be the same, especially if it's a boy, mate. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, let's look at what are the elements of effective negotiation. Let's start a new page in your skills to negotiate. And if any of you manage to negotiate a wedding in the next 6 months, make sure you invite me, please. I love weddings. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's talk about it. What is negotiation? What does it mean to be an effective negotiator? Negotiation is a process by which people settle differences. For example, Priya has a factory. Priya makes dresses, and she makes dresses from the finest Indian silk. But the good thing about Priya's dresses is all her dresses are printed. The silk is specifically printed for Priya, and no one else has those prints. And I am a buyer. I have a shop in Singapore, or Susu has a shop in her country, and she wants to import the dresses that Priya manufactures. So the buyer would contact the seller, who is Priya, and try to buy large quantities. So therefrom will start a negotiation process, because Susu will say, I want to buy a regular quantity. And then Priya will say, I'm prepared to supply you, but each dress will cost you, for example, 20 US dollars. Of course, Susu would not agree to that firsthand. Of course, Susu will try to negotiate a better price, because without Susu negotiating, she would not be able to get the right price in order to sell the dresses and make a profit. Effectively, that is a process of negotiation. So negotiation is any process where two parties are trying to reach a resolution or an agreement or a compromise. That is negotiation. Let's ask ourselves, every day you go home, if you're married, you have some sort of disagreement with your wife where she negotiates with you, whether she negotiates for more money, whether she negotiates for you to buy her something, whether she negotiates for you to take her out. All of that is a sense of negotiation. Mr. Amala, could you help? I have somebody scribbling yellow lines on my screen. Could you please get rid of that person, or remove them, or remove the yellow line, please? Thank you, sir. All right. So negotiation is a process of agreeing something with another party. For example, when you went to school and you were feeling sick and you don't want to do sports, you negotiated by trying to tell your sports teacher that you were too sick to do sports. Does anybody remember those days? Or Priya, when you were a young girl going to secondary school and you didn't want to go to school today, you try to convince mummy and daddy that you were sick so you didn't have to go to school, probably because you had a test or an exam. Does everybody remember those days? Emma, do you remember that? I'm sure, Emma, when you were a kid, you did that many times, right? When I was a young kid at boarding school, I used to hate going to the dental nurse because she was a real butcher and she treated our teeth like, bricks. So every time I had a dental visit, I pretended to have a headache and a fever and always got out of it. So all of this is part of negotiation. However, for a negotiation to be good, we need some very core elements. They are fairness, being fair, seeking mutual benefit, so both parties benefit from the outcome, and maintaining a relationship. So let me give you another example. Emma has a factory in her country. Emma produces the finest Vietnamese silk, the finest, okay, which is some of the world's best silk. Priya has a factory in India. She produces dresses from Indian silk. But Priya knows that her business would grow if she could bring Vietnamese silk into India. And Emma knows that if she could also buy Indian silk and put it into her production repertoire, it will boost her business. But the fact is that Emma and Priya may not see eye to eye. They may disagree on price. Does that mean they are no longer business acquaintances? Does that mean they no longer want to keep in touch with each other? No, because maintaining a relationship in business is critical to your business expansion or business success, regardless whether the negotiation outcome is positive or negative. Do we all understand that, everyone? Yes or no? Can you wave your hands to me? Remember, don't shake our heads, wave our hands. Susu, I can't see your hand, young lady. Thank you, Susu. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, everyone. All right. So remember, negotiation is a process by which two people, two parties or more agree on doing something together or working together. As I said, could be husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, mother and daughter, mother and son. It could be you and your neighbor, you and your boss. All of these are forms of negotiation. Let's talk about the stages that are required to actually complete a process of negotiation, but not just any negotiating process, an effective negotiation process where both parties walk away in a win-win outcome. Now, there is other outcomes. There is a win-lose outcome. There is a win-win outcome, or there is an outcome where you part by not respecting each other or reaching any compromise, neither a win-win or win-lose. It's a lose-lose situation. So let's talk about it. What are the stages required in order for you to negotiate? I ask you all to please take a picture of this or write them down. The first process of negotiation includes the following stages. The first and most critical element of effective negotiation requires preparation. It requires discussion. It will require ongoing clarification of the goals of both the buyer and seller, or service provider and service receiver, or mother and daughter, mother and son, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, girlfriend and boyfriend. It could be a negotiation between a company and its customer. It should include an ability to negotiate towards a win-win outcome. If you go into a negotiation with an attitude that you want to negotiate a win-lose outcome, then there will be no effective negotiation, because one party will be unhappy and the term or the duration of what you're negotiating will be short-lived, and there will not be fairness or mutual respect to both parties of the negotiation table, or to all parties in the negotiating table. The fifth and critical requirement is agreement. And for any negotiation to be effective, it must see a course of implementation. If I was to ask Emma, are you going to cook pho tonight or chocolate cake today? And Emma said yes. And Emma went and bought all the ingredients. Unless Emma carries through the action of actually going to the kitchen and making the pho, then all the negotiation between me and Emma to eat perfect Vietnamese pho tonight would mean it has been watered down the sink. Do we all agree with that? Yes or no? So if we make commitments to our client, to our manufacturer, to our supplier, or anybody in the business world, and we do not implement a course of action, will we be respected for future negotiation, or will we lose credibility? Who can answer that question? Can somebody tell me, is the answer yes or no? Emma, what do you think the answer is, Emma? Emma, are you there? Open your microphone, gorgeous. What's the answer? Is it yes or no?
Yeah, my answer is yes.
Okay, why do you think that implementation is important for you to have concluded an effective negotiation?
How to answer this? When I
Go ahead, don't be shy. Try.
can I answer you next time?
Okay, let me explain. So what you're saying, if you don't implement the negotiation, then all your time has been wasted. Is that right? You've wasted your time. If you don't implement the negotiation, you will not make money out of it, neither will the other party. Am I correct? And you will lose credibility. Would you agree with me, Emma?
I agree.
Good, excellent. I'll talk to you again shortly. So what we've looked at, ladies and gentlemen, are the 6 elements of the process. Now let's look at each one of them separately and learn how it plays a role in effective negotiation. Number 1, what is the preparation? For you to go into any negotiation, you need to know when and where this is going to happen. You need to know who you're going to be talking to, and you need to study who the other person or party is. You can't go into a blind negotiation if you don't know what the other party is, who they are, or what they have to offer. It's very important in the preparation stage that you make sure you do your homework and your research to understand what you're going to be talking about. What are the problems that you may face? Why is this person or persons wanting to negotiate with you? Why do they want to negotiate? Why are they talking to you? If you don't understand the psychology behind the reasons for them wanting to negotiate, then you cannot negotiate effectively. Do we all understand that? Yes or no? Okay, who can give me an example of some incident where you had to negotiate, but you found yourself not prepared? Can anyone here wave to me or give me an example of a situation where you tried to negotiate something, but you were not prepared? I see hands going up. All right, who am I going to try first? Let's try Iris Bridget first. Hello, Iris. Good afternoon, ma'am. Open your
Good
microphone,
afternoon.
Iris. Tell
You
me,
hear
what
me?
was the situation? Of course I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, at the moment I'm in Thailand for work for the call center, but salary-wise and visa-wise, it didn't went how they were promised it. So the problem is the supervisor. He just bring me here. He doesn't really like me, so they just bring more people in than they need. And I said I had to go in the boss in the Lions Den and
Yeah,
talk to him about the situation.
yeah,
And I just could be honest, about everything. And then I was hearing, yeah, they really like in this project they cannot really like use me. And then I said, I know my qualities. I'm 7 years. I'm an expert in this field. And you don't not give me any shot. I wasn't even able to speak with clients for 3 weeks. They don't do training. Many things went like, oh my
okay.
god,
I can,
horrible.
but Bridget, I understand your situation, but what that tells me is you went to Thailand without negotiating the terms correctly and without
I
doing your
have
reference checking and preparation. Did you look into the company's background? Did you search a reference for them on any of the websites in Thailand?
They don't
Uh,
have such
Well,
things.
then
German
why would,
call centers are like that.
yeah, but
They should not.
why would you fly all the way to Thailand without doing preparation? What that shows me, Bridget, and I do know that you don't want to hear this, is that
Okay.
you did not prepare. You entered a situation and got yourself stuck without doing due diligence. So you failed the first element of negotiation, which was preparation. Now, let me tell you, don't hold yourself at guilt for this, because a lot of people, when they're desperate for a job, sometimes they want to believe that it's real. And sometimes I want to believe that, I'm flying halfway across the world. This company is going to look after me. But unfortunately today, especially in countries like Thailand and other parts of that part of the world, there is unscrupulous employers. And all I can advise you to contact the Thai authorities. Thailand has very strict authorities in our labor, and you go and contact them and show them the conversation you had with that company and show them that they asked you to come over and now they're reneging on their situation. But I
The
think,
problem is I'm not on the right visa even. They don't do that.
yeah,
So,
well then
so
I suggest you don't talk to the authorities, because you might find yourself
I get
thrown
troubles.
out. I think you need to get
Exactly.
out of the country or find another job on the right visa. And
Yeah, I will. I will.
and
I just try now
and
to negotiate. They pay the
yeah,
money like that.
okay.
They don't want it to pay even.
Yeah, well, I think you need to make a move and get out of there, because the longer you stay there, Iris, you're in danger of Thai authorities picking you up,
Mm.
and you don't want to go to a Thai jail. Let me tell you, it's a horrible
No.
experience from what I've seen on TV. But what Iris is telling us about, and thank you for being so brave, is
Mm.
she's giving you a very human example of someone who failed to do preparation before she entered a negotiation. In actual fact, I suspect that Iris didn't negotiate at all. They offered her
I
something, she
I
asked
negotiate
questions, and she went. What did you negotiate? What were the elements you negotiated?
about the salary and everything, how I'm
Yeah,
common
but
with.
you know, salary is one element. There's a lot of other things you need to negotiate before you fly halfway across the world. Give me a copy of the visa, give me the correct visa, show me a copy of your company registration, tell me who some of your clients are, tell me you know, how you pay salaries. Then I'd go on the internet. I go to some of the biggest platforms in the world, put the company's name in Google. And let me tell you, if they've done this before, there would certainly be write-ups about them. I don't want to upset you, Bridget, but I think in this
Mm.
instance, you've truly failed yourself. And, you know, next time you want to apply for a job overseas, if you need any help, please call me and let me teach you the steps you have to go through. But what you've done is, I feel that you don't have the correct negotiation skills. What you've done is you've gone and asked simple questions which you thought were required, but you've left yourself far short. And with no
Mm.
disrespect to you, ma'am, and I'm not trying to underestimate what you've gone through, but I think you led yourself into this position,
Mm.
especially with Thai companies. You have to be very careful. Thai companies and China
German.
employers, yeah,
It's German.
yeah, but they are based in Thailand. Is that correct?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
the boss, but the boss is from my area where I'm coming from
yeah,
originally,
I know, but
but no
he's
good
yeah,
man.
but hold on. He's doing business in Thailand. If he did business,
Yeah,
if you were employed in Germany, he wouldn't dare do this to you
no,
because the
probably
German
not.
authorities would crucify him. The reason he's treating you like this is because you're based in Thailand and he's
Mm.
under Thai law jurisdiction where he can play games. But I wish
Mm.
you the best of luck, and I think you need to learn from today's lesson about
Yeah.
negotiating future. But my
Yeah.
advice to you would be, look at your legal status in Thailand and try to
Yeah.
correct it before the Thai authorities pick you up. All right. That's my advice to you. And
Yeah, I will
I'm
not
trying to be
stay so
humble.
long here
Okay.
anymore. Going
Thank
back
you, Bridget.
home.
But I hope you learned from today's lesson. Thank you. So going on to preparation, Bridget just gave us a very serious example of what the first element of negotiation is. To go into any situation and negotiate a settlement between two parties, you need to understand who the party is, what are their credentials, why are they talking to you, what is in it for them, and what is in it for you. You have to check whether there is a win-win situation for you. So you have to do your research before you go into a negotiation. Does anybody else want to give me an example of a negotiation that failed? Can somebody put up their hand again? I had several hands up and they all went down. Okay, let's go to Amal Arif. Hello, Amal, do you want to talk to me? Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Uh,
give me
one
an
time
example.
I, one time I got a job in Turkey, where I'm living currently. So
Yes.
my boss called me and he said that you can work here for like 7 days or maybe a week. And then afterwards, when I came back home, I texted him and he just said, "You're not experienced and I cannot give you the job." Then again, after a whole month was been over, or I think a week, maybe a week. So
Yes.
then he contacted me again and said, "Do you want to do this job still?" I said yes. So after I did the job one day I did the job and I came back home. But then I said to him, "Can I do this job according to my own schedule? Because I have my classes and I cannot miss them." So he just kicked me out. He said, "You cannot do it. You're not experienced again."
Again, I think, Amal, you did not do your homework. You did not set the terms of the negotiation up front, because you should have negotiated how long you work, what your working schedule would be, how he's going to pay you before you worked for him. So I think that was a mistake you made by trying to work for him without setting those rules down. And I think,
Yes,
Amal,
sir.
that you failed to prepare. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so let's move on. So when you go into any negotiation, especially in a business situation, you need to be prepared. You need to know who is the other party, what is their background, why do they want to talk to you, what's in it for you, what's in it for them. Are they your competitor? Are they a supplier that you need? Are they a user that need your materials where you're a supplier and they need you? You need to do your homework before you start negotiating. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Come on, wave your hands, guys. Don't go to sleep on me. Everybody. Okay, wave your hands. So where we start this, let me go back to the situation of boyfriend, girlfriend. I love using this because it's the easiest one to get you all to understand. If one of you was to go to your daddy today, Marites, I think you're already married, right, Marites? You don't have to go to daddy anymore, right? Okay, so let's take one of the younger ladies here, Amal, or any of the younger ladies here. And today you're going to your father to ask him permission to marry your boyfriend of 2 years. And if you're not prepared to answer the questions that your father would be expected to answer, then you know he's going to say no, right? Common question, right? Okay, so it's the same thing. If you're going to negotiate to convince your father to let you marry your boyfriend who's unemployed, but you've been in love with for 2 years, and then you're going to tell your father, Daddy, I need you to give him to support him for a year so he can find a job, and I need him to move into your house so we can live with you because we need 2 years to find our own house, then that's not going to be an easy negotiation. So you would have to know how to convince your father before you start the negotiation. Would you agree with me, Amal? Amal?
Yes.
Okay, don't go to
Yes.
sleep on me, Amal. Put your hand down, sit up straight and look at the camera, young lady. All right. Do you understand that, everyone? It's a
Yes, sir.
simple element. Thank you very much. So preparation is very simple. Can anybody here give me example of preparation they've done for a business negotiation? Who would like to tell me what sort of preparation? Marites, go ahead. Open your microphone, young lady. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good to
Yeah,
see you again.
go ahead.
Actually, it's a field preparation also for me. Long time ago, I agreed with business with a friend. It's a consignment one. She then agreed that whatever I cannot sell out, I will give her back. Then I will have just to pay whatever those I sell out. But then it's a misconfusion. She wants me to pay everything, even all those things I never sell out. So I never prepared for that.
So what you did, Marites, is you negotiated without understanding what business is.
Yes,
You went into an agreement without knowing what you're getting yourself into. You behaved like a common housewife or a common young lady who did not study or get the proper advice. So you didn't really negotiate. You got taken advantage of, right? Because you didn't
yes,
understand the terms of that negotiation. You weren't prepared for it. You didn't check. Did you do any searches to check his credit report? Did you check how much money he has? Did you
yes.
ask for references? Did you go and talk to a lawyer? Did you do any of that?
Also,
So you
the
failed,
one
right?
is basically friend talk only. That's
You
why.
failed the preparation, right? You failed.
Yes, yes.
Yes or no? Okay, thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, the first element of negotiation is preparation. And all of you are giving me examples, but every example I hear, it seems like none of you have done any preparation. You have just thought or assumed that you prepared. Preparation is when you ask questions. Why? What's in it for them? What's in it for me? Who are they? What is their relationship with me or my business entity? How did they find me? How did they reach me? Who else in my business have they spoken to? Do they have the buying power to do business with me? What is their reputation in the market? All of these are questions you should ask before you go into any bargaining or negotiation agreement. Do you understand that, everyone? Yes or no? Come on, everybody, wake up. All right, great. Do you understand what I'm saying, Kiao So? Don't shake your head. Wave your hand. Monkeys shake their head, Kiao So. I've told you so many times. All right, good man. Excellent. Okay, so preparation is the first phase. Let's go to phase number 2. So the second stage of negotiation is discussion. What is discussion? Discussion happens as part of the objective communication process. So when you actually prepare, the next phase is for you to open the meeting or discussions with them. It could be by phone, it could be face-to-face, or it could be through a Zoom meeting. What happens during the discussion stage is you or your company go into a discussion with the other side. This discussion needs to be a two-way, effective and objective communication process where you understand them and they understand you. And how do you kick that discussion off? That means you asking the right questions based on the homework that you have done. If you go into this negotiation without having done your homework, the chances are that you're going to fail like the two ladies that have failed. And sadly, both have failed in a negotiation with a prospective employer, which has meant they've worked and not got paid for it and been ripped off through their own fault. So let's ask ourselves, what is objective communication? What is objective communication? Objective communication is an interaction between two parties. Everybody write this down. An interaction between two or more parties. Once you interact, you will conduct an assessment of one another by asking each other questions. Assessment is questions. The questions take two forms. They are open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. Does anybody know the difference between open-ended and closed-ended questions? Carmen, do you know the difference? Can you open your microphone, Carmen? What is the difference, Carmen, between an open-end and a closed-ended question? Go ahead. Carmen? I'm listening, Carmen. Open your microphone, gorgeous. Unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself, Carmen. I can't hear you. Are you there? Carmen? Okay, I'll come back to you. That's okay. Let's go to someone else. Let's go to Mercy. Mercy Compassion. Hi, Mercy. How are you? Tell me, what's the difference between an open-ended and a closed question?
The difference between open-ended, open question and closed-ended question. Open-ended question is you are giving question with a clue so that the other party can understand which question they will gonna ask from you, while the closed-ended question is a question that you gave to them directly and you want an answer directly from them. That's all, sir.
You're close, but you're not exactly right. Let me explain it in clear academic terms. An open-ended question is where you're opening the opportunity for the other party to give you an explanation, an open explanation. And that could let them talk about what they think the correct answer is. That is an open-ended question, okay? A closed-ended question is a question that would require a single answer. Is your building black or white? It's black. Is your answer yes or no? Yes. That is a closed-ended question. Do you understand what I mean by that? So a closed-ended question is where you give them a choice of the answer and they only have one or other choice. Okay. An open-ended question is when you ask them, if you were to buy my product, why would you buy it? So in an open-ended question, they're going to explain their reasons. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you there? Okay, so does everybody understand what I said? Do you understand that, Xiong Lao? Xiong Lao? Good, excellent. Carmen, do you understand what I just said, Carmen? Good, excellent. So the assessment part of your objective communication should include both open-ended and closed-ended questions. Open-ended and closed-ended. You should have more open-ended followed by closed-ended. So for what you say, you ask an open-ended question, then you reconfirm that by a closed-ended question. Let me give you an example. Xiang Lao is going out today to buy a car, and he will go into the showroom and he will say to the salesman, tell me all the features of this car. So the salesman will tell Xiong Lao, sorry, he will tell Xiong Lao, this is an automatic car. It's a 4-seater. It has a turbo engine. It has a nitrous pack. It has the latest technology in electronic steering and navigation, and so on. That would be an open-ended question from Xiong Lao to the car dealer. However, if Xiong Lao wants to reconfirm that, he would ask a closed-ended question. So let me just reconfirm. You told me that this car has power steering. Yes or no? The salesman will reconfirm by saying yes or no. Do you understand that, Xiong Lao? Yes or no? Do you understand? Okay, can you talk to me, Xiong Lao? Hi, you want to say hello? Open your microphone.
Yes.
Do
Hello.
you, do you understand what I just explained, or do you want me to explain it again?
Maybe you can explain
Okay.
again.
All right. Again, Mr. Amala, somebody is drawing on my screen. Can you end that, please? Okay. Let me explain, Xiong. If you go to buy a car and you ask the car salesman to tell you about the car, and the car salesman told you all the benefits or the features of that car, that would be an open-ended question. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Now, if you want to reconfirm his answers, you would do that by asking a closed question. For example, you would say to the salesman, you told me that this car has power steering. Yes or no? The salesman would answer yes. So what are you doing by asking the closed question, Xiang? You're reconfirming the information he gave you. Do you understand the difference, my friend?
Yes. Yes.
Can you give me an example of how you could use an open-ended question in a negotiation that you might have? Any negotiation. Can you give me an example? Are you there? Xiong?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Give me an example. Any example.
Yes, but maybe next time.
Okay, that's fine. When you're comfortable, I'll talk to you later. But do you
Okay,
understand what
thank
I
you.
explained to you? Do you understand what I explained?
Yeah. But
Okay. Okay, no problem. Thank you. All right, let's go someone else. Omar. Omar Naya Turiki. Are you there, Omar? Can you open your microphone, Omar? Hi, Omar. Unmute your microphone. Are you there, Omar? Okay, Omar is busy. Okay, let's go on. So basically an open-ended and a closed-ended question. Usually the open-ended question would be able to ascertain information, and the closed-ended question would reconfirm that information because you move forward. If you ask too many open-ended questions, then you will not reconfirm anything. You will get to the end of the discussion, but have not established any facts. Does everybody understand that? Tanagaran, do you understand that? Tanagaran? Okay, good. Okay. Who can give me an example of an open-ended and a closed-ended question? Raju, can you do that? Raju, can you unmute your microphone and give me an example? Go ahead, Raju. Are you there, Raju? Can you unmute your microphone? Hello. Unmute your microphone, Raju. Are you there? Are you there, Raju? Can you hear me? Noel Zulu. Hello, Noel. Are you there? Hi. Do you want to talk to me? Can you unmute your microphone? Are you there? Hi.
Yes, I'm there. How are
Yeah,
you?
Noel. Good. Thank you. Good. Can you give me an example of an open-ended question?
An example for an open-ended question.
Yes, go ahead.
I can say, what's your name? I think it's an example for an
Okay.
open-ended question.
Right. Okay. And then if you asked him, are you a male or female? Would that be open-ended or closed-ended?
It's an open-ended question.
No, no, absolutely not. You've asked him his name. He's going to give you his name. All right. So if you ask him, tell me about yourself, tell me your name, that would be open-ended. But if you simply asked him, are you a male or a female? That would be a closed-ended question. Do you understand that?
Okay, I understand.
And if you were to say, Noel, can I ask your name? Just his name, John Smith, that would also be a closed-ended question. But if you asked him, how about, hi, could you tell me your name and tell me about your company? You're opening the question. That would become open-ended. Do you understand that, Noel?
Yes, I understand now.
Thank you very much. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, during the assessment phase of objective communication, we use two forms of questions: open-ended to gather information and close-ended to reconfirm the information. Now, whether we gather enough information or not will depend on how well we're prepared. If we know the background of the other party and why they want to talk to us, what's in it for them, what's in it for us, and who else do they talk to in our business, then you will be able to ask the right questions to assess the information you need before you do business. Once you've assessed the information, you then have to start talking about what the objectives of this negotiation are. So, for example, you are talking to a supplier, Amal, who is going to supply you with dresses because you're going to open a silk dress shop in Turkey. All right. So you've been talking to the supplier and you're trying to get them to supply you the dresses. You've already asked open-ended questions about the types of dresses they make, the fabric they make, the quantity that you want, and the pricing that you want. And they've answered all your questions, right? So now you have to start locking in the objective. So what is this phase? This is when you start targeting the core. So what you're telling me, Mr. Smith, is that your factory could give me 200 dresses a month. You could break up the sizes based on my requirements. You could actually print the designs I want. How about if I wanted a new design? Would you be able to do that? How long would it take for you to manufacture the dresses? How soon will you ship those dresses to me? So now you're trying to get information about the objectives that both parties will need to meet in order to reach an agreement in this negotiation. Now, once you start documenting those objectives, objective writing is very much the same as analysis. So assessment is you gather information. Objective writing is assessment of the information you gathered. Does everybody understand that, ladies and gentlemen? Yes or no? Do you understand that, Raju? I can't hear you, Raju. You need to wave your hand or switch on your microphone. Can you on your microphone, Raju? Can you on your microphone, Raju? I can't hear you, sir. You're talking, but I can't hear you. I can't hear you, sir. You need to fix your microphone. Okay. All right, let's go on. Jesucito, do you understand the difference between assessment and objective writing? Jesucito, can you unmute your microphone?
Okay, okay, so to
Yeah,
differentiate objective
Yeah.
and assessment.
Yes.
Okay, for the assessment, so we are scrutinizing. So let's say in the business, so we are scrutinizing the flow of the business. So the outcome.
That's right.
Input like that.
Assessment is gathering information. You're correct. Yes. Go ahead.
For the objectives, okay, we are building a target or a goal that
right.
Which there is implementing guidelines in
Absolutely
order to
right.
this one.
Absolutely right. So during assessment, you're gathering information. During objective, you're trying to reach a concrete basis for you to move forward, which is more analyzing the steps forward. Do you understand that? Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on to feedback. What is feedback? Feedback is when both parties actually tell you whether they're happy with the plan forward or not. One party might say, yes, I'm happy to supply you, Nazy, but I want $20 per garment. $19.50 is not enough. And Nazy will come back and say, no, I can only offer you $19.70. So the feedback stage is where you guys try to reach a common ground, okay? A common ground. But you can only reach the common ground once you've set the objectives that you're both working towards. The objective could be 200 garments a month. Once that objective is down, you can buy 200 garments. He can supply 200 garments. The feedback now is to you and the other party to agree the price. Once you've agreed, then there has to be a clear mindset. So you have to summarize and set clear steps of how you're going to move forward. Will the next step forward be another phone discussion? Will it be a draft or a written correspondence to confirm what you've agreed before you implement that? Or what will it be? What will it be? You need to analyze that and set a clear mindset between the two parties. Now, this whole process is objective communication. It's part of the process by which you need to communicate in order for you to negotiate effectively. Let's go back to the previous slide. Sometimes it is helpful to take notes during the discussion stage to record all points put forward in case there is a need for further clarification. It is extremely important to listen, as when disagreement takes place, it is easy to make the mistake of saying too much and listening too little. Each side should have equal opportunity to ask questions, analyze and set their objectives, and then to actually discuss those objectives, okay, and then reach a clear step forward. Remember, the clear step forward is the clear mindset. Does everybody understand what I've said so far? Do you understand that, Nazy? Can you wave your hand, Nazy? Wave your hand, don't shake your head. Good stuff, excellent. All right, so let's talk about that. What is some of the ways in which you can move the communication cycle forward? It's, you need to question in a way that will help in 3 big ways for you to move forward with this negotiation. You need to ask questions that will help you understand the other person's proposal. You need to ask questions that show that whether you can, will or will not settle for a less than effective solution. So you need to understand, are they prepared to settle based on different quality, different quantities? Are they focused on one quality, one quantity? What are all the options available for them to do business with you? You need to question them about exactly how soon they want to make a deal. Okay, so technically you're asking them what they want, how much of it they want, how much they're prepared to spend or pay, okay, and how soon they want it. Does everybody understand that, guys? Yes or no? Voti, do you understand that? Voti, you understand that? Wave your hand, Voti. I think Voti has got a picture there. I'll talk to her again shortly. All right, does everybody understand what I've explained so far? Can you wave your hands to me, please, guys? Wonderful. Thank you so much. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Joseph, do you understand what I just said, Joseph? Good. Excellent, Joseph. I've got a question from Chris Ramos. Are you there, Chris? Where are you? You want to talk to me, Chris? Hold on, Chris. Let me open your microphone. Are you there, Chris? Go ahead. Unmute your microphone, Chris. What's your question? Chris Ramos, what's your question? Are you there, Chris? Okay, I'll come back to you. Renalyn, do you have a question? Renalyn Ramos, do you have a question? Would you like to ask a question? Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, I'll come back to you. All right, so remember, questions, asking questions. You need to focus on what they want, how they want it, what are they prepared to give you for what they want, and how soon they want it. In order for you to be able to do that, you have to have prepared. You have to ask yourself, why do they want to talk to me? Why do they want to work with me? What's in it for them? And what will I make out of this? If you don't understand those three basic fundamentals in preparation, then you're not going to ask the right questions during the objective communication cycle. Okay, let's go on. Remember, we said setting objectives. That is part of clarifying the goals, all right? Setting objectives. Remember, we said this part here, objective writing, that is the part where you're clarifying the other party's goals. What do they want? What is the outcome they want? You've already got all the basic information about them. You've asked all the basic questions. So now you need to focus on, okay, for us to actually do business, what exactly do you want to happen and at what price? Okay? And both sides need to set their objectives. Remember, it is helpful to list these factors in order of priority. So you need to ask them, what are your goals and how important is each of them? What is most important for you? Quality, price, or delivery? Clarification is really important, guys, because if you don't clarify this during the discussion stage, during the objective communication cycle, then at the end of the negotiation, one party will say, sorry, cannot do that because this does not meet the time frame that I have. Because why? Because you had not covered that priority during the discussion stage. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? When you go to the doctor, Leah, you go to the doctor because you're sick. You want to be treated today or tomorrow. Of course you want to be treated today. That's why you went to the doctor. It's the same when you try to set objectives in a negotiation. You must have clarity as to what the priority is. Is it they want the stock urgently? They want to buy it at a cheaper price? They're prepared to compromise quality, or they want the best quality? Do you all understand that? Yes or no? Can you wave your hands for me, please? Cheryl, good. Renalyn, can you wave your hands, Renalyn, in your beautiful purple shirt, Renalyn? Wave your hand. Don't be shy, young lady. Renalyn. Okay, good, Renalyn. Okay, so let's go on, guys. Now, in any negotiation, the core objective is to negotiate towards a win-win outcome. What is a win-win outcome? Both sides win. You make money, they make money. You get your way, they get their way. That is the ultimate negotiation, a win-win situation. Do you understand that, Ella? Can you wave your hand, Ella? Good, excellent. Now, this stage focuses on what is termed as win-win, outcome for both sides. And for you to have a win-win, which will make the negotiation more successful because it will be a longer lasting relationship, you have to make sure that you are making something out of this, so are they. If you're going to supply them quality, you're making enough money to cover your costs. And if you supply them the quality, they're buying it at a right price where they can resell it, make a profit, and continue to buy from you as their supplier. A win-win outcome is usually the best result. Although in some cases, you may think you have a win-win, but the other party may see it as a win-lose. And that happens sometimes because I need your material. Without your material, I can't produce the goods. But you are the only supplier who has available material. So even though you are winning by selling it to me at a higher price, as a manufacturer, I need to buy that material to produce the goods and sell them to my customer. So my profit margin may be lower. So therefore, it could be a win for you, but a loss for them. Are those negotiations healthy? No, because they are short-termed. The minute the other party finds another supplier that can offer him a lower price where he can also win, he will go away. He will leave you. So there is a consequence of having a win-lose effect. Do you all understand that? Yes or no? Let me give you an example. During the COVID crisis, people could not fly. Airports were closed. Now that airlines are back, people want to fly. But because airlines do not have as many aircraft, because their aircraft have been in storage and they're trying to prepare them back for flight, because airlines fired a lot of their crew and they don't have enough airline crew, that means the price of the ticket that you're going to buy based on the availability now is going to be higher than before. So it's a win for the airline, a lose for the customer because the customer pays more. Okay, do you all understand that? If you were to buy the same ticket 6 months ago, you would have paid less, but the airline had more aircraft, so therefore they had to fill more seats, so it was a win-win situation. Do you all agree with me on that? Do you all understand that? Okay, let's talk about another one. Right now, Sri Lanka has a shortage of petrol, a shortage of being able to buy petrol. People are fighting to buy petrol, okay? Now, for the countries that supply petrol and supply it at a very high price, Sri Lanka can't pay. So for the supplier, OPEC, or the countries in the OPEC, like Saudi Arabia, the people that lead oil supply, it's a win because their prices are high and they sell only to customers who can pay. For Sri Lanka, it's a loss because they can't afford to buy the petrol. Now, you might say it's also a loss for Saudi Arabia. It's not, because OPEC or Saudi Arabia, the people that control the price of the oil, know that there's other countries that can pay the higher price. So why would they sell it to Sri Lanka at a lower price? Do you understand that, guys? Yes or no? It's a necessity. Eventually, Sri Lanka will pay that price because without it, they won't have petrol. And what will happen at the end is the consumer in Sri Lanka will pay more for their petrol because the petrol will cost more to arrive in Sri Lanka. Do you all understand that? Yes or no? I'll give you an example, Ella. I want you to open a microphone and I want to share an example with you. Open your microphone, Ella.
Yes.
Ella, you want to go in and buy a pair of shoes today, like Renalyn, Leah, and Cheryl. You're all going to buy a pair of shoes. You go to this boutique and there's this beautiful pair of shoes that has just been released. It's a new style from a famous designer. And you walk into the store and they have your size, but the salesperson says to you, I only have one pair left, but the price is $200. However, I have another shoe and it's cheaper, but it's a different color. It's only $150. Now, the win-win situation would be that you buy the shoes at $200. Would you agree with me, Leah?
Yes.
And the win-lose situation would be that the store doesn't sell it to you, it sells it to another customer at the full price, and then you come back the next day and he's already sold it. He doesn't have your size. So who wins, who loses? The store wins, you lose. Am I right?
Yes.
Is that the right, do you think that's the right outcome? Or would you prefer to have a win-win outcome where they have your size and you're prepared to pay the right price? Would that be the better outcome?
Yes, it should be that I choose the one I like with the suitable price and the color I like
Exactly
too.
right. But
Yes.
but do you think this shop is going to reduce their price for you when it's the last one there? They're not, right? So
No.
for them it's a win because they'll sell it at a higher price. For you,
Yes.
it would be a loss because you can't
Yes.
buy it, right? Now, if in 6 months' time that shop hasn't sold it because they didn't sell it to you, I guess they would consider it a loss for them as well. But are they prepared to take the chance? They probably are because they know that they can sell it. Do you understand that, Leah?
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody understand the example I just gave Leah? Yes or no? Can you wave your hands, everybody? Hung Nguyen, you're asleep today, Hung Nguyen. Wave your hand, Hung Nguyen. Stop playing with your headset. Wave your hand, Hung Nguyen. Okay, good. I can see you moving your face. Okay, that's good enough for me. All right, let's go on. So, ladies and gentlemen, Letitia, do you understand what I just explained, Letitia? Letitia, do you understand? I think Letitia's writing it down. Thank you, Letitia. Trin, do you understand, Trin? Trin? Okay, thank you, Trin. Florida, do you understand? Thank you. All right. So a win-win outcome is whereby both parties benefit, whether it's the money they make or the fact that they get the business. It's a win-win situation because both people will benefit. The next element is the process. After you've actually prepared, you've discussed, you've fulfilled the actual objectives, you've clarified, you've set a clear way forward, is what we call the agreement stage. Agreement can be achieved once the understanding of both sides' viewpoints and interests have been considered. So that would be based on the fact that you both have a clear mindset. You both agreed on clear goals. You both cleared all your differences and you have a clear understanding. Does everybody follow me so far? Florida? Good, excellent. Okay. All right. So let's go on. It is essential for everybody involved to make sure that throughout the objective communication cycle, they are open-minded. What do we say open-minded? That means that you don't already have your mind saying, say no, I can make more money elsewhere. You need to be open-minded and give every negotiation fair chance by going through it, asking questions and trying to reach a win-win situation. Remember, sometimes you might even secure a win-lose where you make a higher margin, the people that buy from you need it because they have a liability or an outstanding order and they need your raw material. But if you do secure a win-lose, it'll be a very short-term relationship. You're better off reaching a mutual understanding so it can be win-win for everyone. All right. What are the consequences? What happens when you fail to agree in a negotiation? Can anyone tell me what happens? What happens if you fail to agree? What are the consequences? What does it mean to fail to agree? It's essential that all the parties to a negotiation, for example, if Letitia is negotiating with her boyfriend about getting married, they both have to want to get married. If Letitia's boyfriend says maybe and then changes his mind, it's no good for Letitia's parents. They've already spent money on the wedding. Does everybody understand that simple example? There has to be agreement between both. Any agreement needs to be made clear. And remember what we said about objective agreement? It means it has to be a clear mindset. Both have to understand clearly what is agreed. Okay? At any subsequent stage, whether it's during implementation or during exchange of contract, there should be constant reminder of what you've agreed on. Okay? Because any new ideas or interests should be considered during the negotiation, not after you've already prepared contracts for signature. You need to agree on all the possibilities before you go to implementation. You should always ask yourself, what are the alternatives? What happens if I say no to this client? Do I have enough customers who are going to give me enough business to pay my staff's salaries? Will my business be affected if I don't accept this contract? Do I have the raw materials I need? Ask yourself, what are the alternatives? What are the consequences? Do not make a decision based on the facts without knowing the consequences. Because if you don't know the consequences, then you're probably going to make a mistake and turn away business that you really need. All right, so once you've actually prepared, you've discussed, you've got a win-win situation on the table, you've agreed, the next step is to implement that action, to put it into practice. You need to put it into practice. What does it mean to put something into practice? It means to actually make it happen. Do you understand that, everyone? Letitia, do you understand what that means? Good, excellent. Dina Bernandez, do you understand what that means? Dina Bermudez? Can you wave your hand for me, Dina? Thank you. All right. So if you don't implement after all that negotiation, then the time you wasted negotiating will go down the drain. You will not be able to maintain your credibility with the other party. So if you negotiate, then don't deliver, the other party will probably not come back to you next time, and that will damage your reputation, and that would be a lose for you because you've wasted time negotiating and now you're not going to implement. If you don't want to implement, then you need to set it straight to the other party and say, I cannot do this. It is way below my cost. But don't say yes, then back down. Don't sign an agreement and then say, I have no stock, because you will lose credibility. Do you understand what I mean by that, Letitia? Some companies, they want to keep the other party happy. They'll say, oh yeah, we can supply you at $2 a piece. Then when the customer orders, they use these excuses. I'm out of stock. My production line is down. Why? They simply don't want to supply at the lower price. they want to sell it to a customer with the higher price. At the end of the day, there is a danger of doing that, because you will ruin your credibility as a party to the negotiation. Eventually, no one will negotiate with you because they know you never deliver. You never implement. Do you understand that, everyone? It's really important before we talk about the BATNA of negotiation, and I'll talk to you about that shortly. It's really important that you understand the consequences before you agree to any negotiation or terms of negotiation and how you're going to implement it. So when you go to that last stage of objective communication, which is called the clear mindset, you have to make sure that you're very clear of what they want, they're very clear of what you want, and you're both agreed on that. If there's any doubts, then you don't have a clear mindset. This negotiation is not going to move forward. It may mean having another meeting in a few days' time and talking about it again. Okay, so clear mindset for both parties is critical. If you get to the stage of clear mindset and you're still not comfortable, do not agree to anything. Say to the other party, I need time to review it and I'll get back to you. Okay, all right. Let's go on. The implementation plan for any course of action needs to combine your strategy, the process that you've agreed, and the timeline for the action that you agreed with the client or with the supplier. You need to make sure that you are in line with the budget or price you agreed, in line with the timeline you agreed, and that you make sure you deliver the objectives that you agreed on during the objective communication session, which was the session by which you discussed what they want, what you could do, why they want it, and how soon they want it, at what price they want it. Estefani, do you understand what I just said? Can you wave your hand? Thank you very much. Okay, remember, ladies and gentlemen, negotiations sometimes is seen in terms of getting your own way, driving a hard bargain, beating the opposition. That's not negotiation. That is setting yourself a bad name in business. All right. Some companies take advantage of it and they end up going down the win-lose approach, where they always want to win and they don't care about the other party. But remember, if you go into business and are always targeted to win and set the other party to lose, eventually no one will want to do business with you. That is the danger of a win-lose approach in business. What does it mean in real terms for those of you, just to simplify it? It means that one side wins, the other side loses. This outcome may well damage your future relationship. It'll damage your reputation in the market, and you will see people walking out or refusing to deal with you because you always want to be the winner and they are suffering and you never see it their way or prepared to compromise. Eventually, you will find yourself without customers and out of business. A win-lose approach does not gain you reputation, nor will it guarantee your success. Let's talk about Boeing. Does everybody know Boeing? The people that make jumbos and Boeing 747s, 787 Dreamliner? Boeing sets a market price for their aircraft. So Boeing in its catalog says that a Dreamliner 787 will cost an airline, for example, $400 million, okay? However, is that the price they sell for? No. 400 million is their top price, their maximum. But do they ever sell at that? No. If they only wanted the maximum price, then airlines wouldn't buy it. But by setting the maximum price, they negotiate based on the airline's needs, based on how many aircraft they need to produce to keep the assembly line working and to make money to cover Boeing's costs. because when they decided to build this aircraft, they built an assembly line, they bought parts, and if they don't sell aircraft, they're going to lose money. So it's a two-way win-win situation. Boeing will say to the airline, I can deliver the aircraft, you want them in 6 months. I am prepared to drop my price, but I can only deliver after 9 months. So Boeing and the airline would reach a compromise. So both have a win-win situation. Do you all understand that? Yes or no? Can you wave your hands? All right. All of you about 6 months ago read in the news that Qatar Airways canceled an order with Airbus. Did everybody read that? And they also canceled a big order with Airbus. Why? Because Airbus refused to negotiate. Qatar Airways demanded a certain price. Airbus said no. So therefore, Airbus said, we can't supply you. Qatar Airways could not buy its aircraft because Airbus did not want to sell to them. What happened to the airline? Now, for Airbus, it could be a win for them because they keep their aircraft and they keep it and sell it at a higher price. But this wasn't the reason that Qatar went away. It was because Airbus were not prepared to accept fault for the damage that one of their aircrafts has. Because when the airline bought it, all the paint started peeling off. Airbus said, it's not our fault, go to the paint supplier. The paint supplier said, it's not their fault, go back to the manufacturer. Okay, so what happened at the end? It was a loss for Qatar Airways because they need aeroplanes, which they now don't have, and they are losing passengers. And for Airbus, it's a loss because they lost an order for like 130 aircraft. So it became a lose-lose situation. Okay, does everybody understand that? If Qatar bought the aircraft without having the paint issue rectified, then it would have been a win for Qatar Airways, a win for Airbus and the paint maker, but a loss for Qatar Airways because the paint would have peeled off the aircraft and they would have had to waste money painting it again. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Do you understand that, Dina? Do you understand my explanation, Dina Bermudez? Can you wave your hand, Dina, instead of shaking your head? Thank you. All right, good. So win-lose bargaining is probably the most familiar form of negotiating. It's the same negotiation that you do every time you go to the grocery store, the butcher, or every time you go to a shop in your country and try to hackle for a cheaper price. But does it work? It doesn't. Individuals decide what they want. Then each side takes up an extreme position, such as asking the other side for much more than they expect to get. Has anybody ever been to Turkey, Istanbul? In Istanbul, there is a lot of shops that sell fake sneakers. Do you all know what fake sneakers are? You know, Nike, Adidas, all the expensive Michael Jordan basketball shoes. But these shops in Turkey don't sell the real ones. They sell ones made in China that are fake. So when a tourist goes there, they demand a very high price, probably $200 US, and the real ones are only worth $300. Now, for the shop, why are they demanding that high price? Because if they're caught with all that stock, it'll be confiscated, they'll lose their money. But if they sell it at a cheaper price, they don't have enough to sell to anyone else at a higher price. For them, it's a win-win situation because what they're expecting is somebody else will come and pay the higher price. For the person buying it, it's a loss. Now, if one day that shop is closed down and the police take all their fake stock away, then it becomes a lose for them as well. All right. So taking advantage of your customer, taking advantage of the other party and insisting that you always have win-lose will at the end of the day leave you with either no business or no customers. Does everybody understand what I mean by a win-lose scenario? Okay, let's go and ask some questions because I see all these great hands going up. All right, who can tell me, does everybody understand what a win-lose scenario is? Where are some of my regular students? Faiza Ahmad, do you understand what I mean by a win-lose scenario, young lady? Can you open your microphone, Faiza? Open your microphone, don't be shy. What is a win-lose situation, Faiza? Tell me.
Win-lose situation is when like the person who's selling the thing gets the benefits while the customer does not get any benefits.
Right, and you think that's fair? What will happen at the end of the day?
The customer will lose while
The customer will walk away. Who will lose?
Yes.
The customer will not get what he wants. But what will happen to the supplier eventually? What will happen to that shop?
when the shop will get the benefits, will get the money, will win.
They may get the money, but eventually, if too many customers walk away, what's going to happen to their business?
They will lose. They will not have
Exactly
any
right.
benefit.
Good, excellent. Do you understand what I mean by that? So a win-lose situation may be a quick way to make money, but is it a long-term successful way of doing business? It's not. Do you understand what I'm saying, everyone?
Yes.
Sometimes it's better to compromise and reach a middle point, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. And sometimes it's better to do that than to lose customers. Do you all follow me? Let's talk to Peter. Peter has a question. Mr. Conte, good afternoon, sir. Good evening with your beautiful orange shirt today. You look like you woke up late. You had a big night last night. How can I help you today, Peter?
I just want to throw light on why most negotiations fail.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, normally in negotiation, you get to a point where both parties have sticking points, and the both parties have a particular point that they can't do business without the other party settling for their own point.
That's right.
And for example, will be like if you are buying dress, like
Yes.
100 suits,
Yeah.
100 suits of dress,
Yeah.
and then the supplier is saying that I will prepare the dress without packaging the dress for you, and the buyer will say, I can't buy the dress without you packaging it, and they both have a sticking point that if you don't do this, I will not do this. And at the end of the day, if the supplier know that packaging the dress will cause him to lose, and if the buyer knows that without packaging the dress will cause the buyer to lose, that will lead to a failed negotiation.
Thank you, Peter. That's exactly right. Before you go on, I want you to clarify that. So if you were the factory, and I was buying from you, what consequences would you have to think of before you maintain no packaging? What are the questions you would ask yourself as a factory? Let me suggest, number one, how many dresses will they buy from me over long term? Even though I may lose on the first 100, will I make money eventually if I start packaging? Will there be other customers that will buy from me if I package? Are they questions you need to consider during the negotiation or after the negotiation? When do you think you would want to make those decisions?
Yeah, normally that is why in negotiation we have what they call negotiation and bargaining. That would be under the bargaining
exactly
section.
right. And part of the bargaining
bargain.
process and the dangers of bargaining is that may become a win-lose situation or a lose-lose situation. And Peter has just given you a perfect example. Let me give you this. If my factory has just reopened after COVID-19, I might agree to give you the packaging and lose money this time. But the next time you come to me for those dresses, because my factory now has high demand, what will Peter say to me? Sorry, I can't do it, right? Because Peter needed to get my order once off for money. Now his business has picked up again. So at the end of the day, it's a win for him, win for me now, a loss for him. But 3 months down the line, I have customers knocking on my door saying, please, Amal, I want that dress again. It's the sexiest dress you've ever sold us. But you go back to Peter's factory and Peter says, Amal, I'm sorry, I can't do it. You want the packaging, you have to get your own or pay $5 more per dress. So do you understand the effects of bargaining? Bargaining or haggling as we know it can be used in certain situations. Is it an effective way to do business with a supplier? It's not. Because remember, as Mr. Conte will tell you, a relationship between a buyer and a seller, or a supplier and a supplier and a retailer, and an end selling point, is very critical. Because once you introduce that product and you become known for it, you don't want to lose your supplier. Because if you lose your supplier and you can't find another supplier, what will happen to your business? You will lose your customers. Am I right, Peter? Are you there, Mr. Conte? Are you there, Peter? I think Peter switched off his microphone.
Yes.
Am I right?
Mr.
Sorry.
Wale, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Do you agree with what I said, Peter? Do you agree with what I said, Peter? Okay, I'll come back to you. Yeah. All right. I can't hear. Yeah. Sorry, Peter, I can't hear you.
As you know, I'm running.
I can't hear you. Could you just?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're okay. Your microphone's fixed now. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. As I normally share my own practical experience from my business that I run.
Yes, sir.
I run a very small hotel in my country.
Yes.
So normally, when guests check, I have my price tag. You know, the highest price tag is 400.
Yes.
Australian leons.
Yes.
And I do come down up to 250 based on the bargaining. For example, when you come in, you pay the 400.
Yeah.
You have all the facilities. I can turn on your AC.
Yeah.
And then you have access to our full breakfast.
Yeah.
But if you come in and then you say, I don't have the full 400, I will say, okay, you can use the room without AC. You can use a fan.
Yeah.
So that will you create a lot of opportunity for the customer. You bargain with the customer so that you get what exactly we fit in.
So both will be a win-win situation. Yeah. So the customer gets a cheaper room. You still make money. He comes back as a repeat customer. Very good example, Peter. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I want to go to another example that all of you will know. If you want to fly today, airlines now have 3 classes of travel. Actually, in fact, they have 4. They have first class suites, rooms with beds. They have first class seats. They have business class. They have premium economy class, and they have economy class. And some go one step further. They have discount economy. Discount economy is right down the back, and you get a smaller tray of food. But for people who want to pay less for their flight, that is a win-win situation. For people who want to pay the average price, it's also a win-win situation. And for people who want to fly first class, it's also a win-win situation. So airlines have decided that in order not to lose customers and not having to bargain every day, they have offered their customers a wider range of products. Example, what Peter does in the hotel business. And Peter's not the only one. Hotels in Singapore do the same thing. You try to book into a hotel, they'll offer you a higher rate with full breakfast. They'll offer you a lower rate with no breakfast. Or if you only want, you know, a continental breakfast, which is toast, jam, and orange juice, they'll offer you even a middle rate. But if you want a full breakfast with eggs, bacon, and sausages, they'll offer you a different rate. So what are all these companies doing? They're trying to come to a compromise and provide the customer choices so the customer doesn't have a bargain. They don't have to bargain. They already have the choice offered to them. And what do they do by doing that? It becomes a win-win situation for both the hotel and the client checking in, for the airline and the passenger. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Yeah? Okay. How many of you here drink beer? Does anybody drink beer? Put your hand up. Come on, somebody drinks beer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good, excellent. So when Marites and Peter go out to buy beer, they have a choice. They can buy the cheap local beer because they want to get drunk because they've had a bad day. Or two, they made a lot of money today and they want to go out with somebody they really want to entertain, a good-looking woman or a good-looking guy, and they buy expensive beer. Okay, but what does the bar they go to do? The bar knows that Peter comes in every day. He can only afford a medium price beer. And Peter can't bargain. He can't say to the barman, hey, you give me this bottle for $5. I can't pay $7. They'll tell him to go and get lost. So they offer a different price range, a different type of beer at a different price range. Do you all understand what I mean by that? Yes or no? If you're wine drinkers, that's a big thing in wine. You either pay top price or middle price, but you can't bargain because that's the way it is, okay? I found a similar example in Singapore most recently. I'll give you a good example of Singapore. I love red meat. I die to eat red meat. I was born in Australia. Australians love beef. We're carnivores, all right? In Singapore, if I want to go and buy a quality steak, I have to go to a restaurant and pay $90 to $150. Okay? If I want to just go and eat steak every day, I can go somewhere else and pay $30, $40, or $50. But what is the difference in the quality of the meat? One is frozen from Malaysia and tastes like rubber. The other one is frozen from Indonesia or Thailand and tastes a little bit less like rubber. And the final one is an Australian piece of beef that comes here chilled and not frozen and is quality. So as a consumer, I have a choice of what I buy. So for the restaurant, by offering 3 different price brackets, they're trying to win every consumer over. They don't want to lose, all right? Do you understand that? Because if a restaurant has an empty table, what happens to the meat in the fridge? It'll go off. The use-by date will come up, it'll expire, they'll throw it out. I'm sure Peter will tell you that about his hotel restaurant. If they don't use the supplies, eventually the kitchen will throw them out. Peter's food costs will go up, and eventually he will have to increase the cost of his rooms. Am I right, Peter? I'm sure he'll agree with me on that. Okay, thank you, Peter. All right, does everybody understand the examples I've given you in win-win, win-lose situation? Yes or no? Let me go to my good friend with the laundry business. Where is my good student, the king of the laundry business? There he is. Mr. Jesucito, you are the king of the laundry business, sir. Tell me, open your microphone. Open your microphone. Hello. I think Jesucito is lost the microphone button. Are you there, mate? I think you need to buy a new laptop, sir.
Just hold on, sir. I have a call from my
Okay, you
staff.
call. I'll come back to you later. It's okay. You take time. All right. So Jesucito is in the dry cleaning business. He's one of the big kings of the dry cleaning business. All right. So in the dry cleaning business, you only have 2 choices, either laundry or dry cleaning. The prices are very clear set, right? Okay. But for a naggy customer like me, I won't do business with them unless they pick it up and deliver it. Okay. Do you understand that? So for me, I don't have bargaining power. Because my bargaining power, only bargaining power, is if they don't pick up my laundry and deliver it, I won't do business. But they don't have a delivery service. Do you understand where I'm coming from? A win-lose situation. So what they've done now is they've introduced a delivery service. They're very smart. They have same-day delivery, next-day delivery, or standard delivery within 3 days. So what are they trying to do to a customer like me? They are trying to give me a win-win situation where I could still do business with them. Am I right? There you go. He's agreeing with me. All right. Does everybody understand what I mean by win-win, win-lose? Yes or no? Come on, wave your hands, everyone. Don't be lazy like Amal. Wave your hand, Amal. Okay, good girl. Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. All right, let's go on. Let's go to our next PowerPoint. Okay, so remember, Win-lose bargaining is probably the most familiar form. It's called haggling in most countries. Individuals decide what they want, the business decides what they want, then each side takes an extreme position, such as asking the other side for much more money or for being able to deliver a cheaper quality at a cheaper price. Therefore, the buyer's requirements for quality would not be met, or the buyer's quality for price would not be met, or the supplier's minimum selling price might not be met. So it may be okay to have a win-lose situation once, but as we've said, in the long term, it could be negative. All right, let's go on. Win-lose bargaining is probably the most familiar form of negotiation. Haggling is giving and making a concession or a compromise. That is haggling. And each side's hope is that this compromise will be in their favor. It could be in one side's favor, but it might not be on the other side's favor, unless the other side is prepared to give something up. Like, I check into Peter's hotel, but I can't afford 400. I give him 200. But what do I miss out on? I don't get air conditioning. I have to survive with a fan. Okay, so if you can still provide me the room, the accommodation, but the only compromise is a fan, and I'm prepared to do that instead of an aircon, it might still be an acceptable compromise. It might still be win-win. But if I charge the customer 200, telling him that I'm going to give him the full service, and then I don't provide him the air conditioning, the customer would be at lose. So Peter is offering his customers different price brackets in order to avoid the haggling. So what he does is he says, you can't pay the full price. I have a lower price for you. At least both people at a win-win compromise. Let me give you an example of haggling. This is a typical haggling situation when you go to buy a car. I go into the car yard, I ask the salesman, what do you want for this car? And the salesman says, I cannot sell it for under $2,000. And I, the customer, say, I can give you $1,000. The salesman replies, you must be joking. The customer says, well, 1,100 is my limit. The customer just increased by 100. Okay, so then the salesman will say 1,900, you say no. The salesman will say 1,300, you say no. The salesman will say 1,700, you say no. The salesman will say 1,500, and then you say, okay, done. All right, what happened here? The customer walked in with only £1,000 to spend. He ended up paying you £1,500, more than he wanted to spend. Now, if the car he got was a good car, okay, he might be happy, but he has overspent his budget. Okay, that is haggling, that is bargaining, because he only had £1,000 to spend. He had to put the other 500 on his credit card. So what is the after effect of that? The negative effect of haggling is that you reach a win-lose situation. Okay, win-lose will turn the negotiation into a conflict situation, and it can damage any possible long-term relationship. It can damage your reputation as a supplier or as a service provider. Usually when you haggle with people and say that your minimum price is 2,000 and then agree to sell it for 1,500, it shows that you're dishonest. Why did you say that your minimum is 2,000, then drop to 1,500? Simply by setting a higher price because you want to con the other person or deceive the other person to pay that. You should not set the limit if you know that at the end of the day, you're prepared to compromise, because that reflects on your honesty in the negotiation. The after or the negative part of win-lose is you may reach a compromise solution, which may not be the best possible outcome. There may have been some other agreement that was not thought of at the time, an outcome that was both possible and would have better served both parties. For example, I'll give you the room at 250 or 200, but instead of giving you the aircon 24 hours a day, I'll only allow you the aircon at night. For the rest of the day, you use the fan. So would that be a better win-win situation? Yes. Because the other danger for Peter is to say 200 no aircon, and the next day the guy goes back to his own country and writes about Peter's hotel. I got a room for 200 with only the fan, but the fan consumes just about the same amount of electricity as the aircon, and I was only going to use the aircon for 1 hour a day. So does this win-lose negotiation or bargaining or haggling, does it really serve a purpose? Will it damage your reputation in the long term? There is a very good chance of that happening. It's better for you to be honest and not set a high price than haggle. Ask your customer, ask the party what they're looking for, what their minimum and maximum is, and then give them one price and one price only. When you haggle or when you bargain, agreement is less likely to be reached because both sides are afraid of losing, or there's something there that they fear, which is dishonesty or lack of transparency. Look at the example we just came up with about the car yard. Let's talk to some of you. Jocelyn, would you buy a car from this person? If a salesman did this to you, would you trust him and buy a car? Yes or no, Jocelyn? Open your microphone, young lady. Why are you hiding today? Is your microphone working? I can't hear you, Jocelyn. Your microphone is muted, gorgeous. Can you unmute your microphone? Go ahead, Jocelyn. Would you buy a car from this salesman?
Yes, sir.
Would you buy a car from a salesman like the example I just gave you?
I think, sir, I think no, sir. Better to have like my own budget, and of course,
Okay,
as
so if the salesman asked you what your budget was and gave you one price, would that make you feel better, or would you have felt more comfortable buying from him? Are you there?
Yes, sir, probably. I can buy as per my limit, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
As per my limit, sir, I can do.
Thank you very much. Good answer. Thank you. So what that does is honesty and transparency are always a better solution. Be honest, be transparent, be upfront. Ask, what do they want? How much are they prepared to spend? What is the quality they want before you go quoting a price and then haggling over it and showing a question about your honesty. When you say, I can't go under £2,000, but then you drop as far as £1,500. You've shown that you're dishonest. All right. In negotiation, there's what we call the practice of BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. I want everybody to remember these three letters, BATNA, B-A-T-N-A, the best alternative to the solution. What do you need to do in order to know what your BATNA is? You need to actually decide what your BATNA is before you go into the negotiation. Remember the prepare phase? Why do they want to buy from me? Who are they? What's in it for them? What's in it for me? Once you've answered those questions, you need to go and write down what your BATNA is. First element of BATNA is, what are the alternatives? Create a possible list of all the possible scenarios that you can offer this client. Write them down before you even start the negotiation. Write down all your prices, all your quality standards, all your delivery timings. Make sure you list all the alternatives. Make sure you study what is the right price for each alternative. Then decide with your own people, your own company, which alternative would be the best for your company to offer the customer. And last but not least, make sure you write it in red. What is your lowest price you're prepared to go to before you tell the customer your price? Do you understand that, everyone? You must decide these issues before you start a negotiation. You must know what are the alternatives, what is each alternative, what are the positive and negative points, what are the benefits or disadvantages of each alternative. Is there any issues that these alternatives are going to cause to your production line or your supply chain? Decide which alternative you would prefer to do business with, and make sure you have clear picture of what your bottom price is before you go to the negotiating table. That means that you have already documented what your best alternatives are before you sit down and start negotiating. So when we get to the stage of going into clarifying the objectives and the goals, you know what is the best alternative you have to offer. You already know that because you know your BATNA. So when you go into feedback, you can tell the client why you want them to accept this alternative and why this would be the best for you and the best for them. And you will be able to reach a clear mindset. But if you don't know what your BATNA is before you go into the negotiation, you can never have a clear mindset. The negotiation will fail. Does everybody understand what I mean by BATNA? Does everybody understand what I mean by BATNA? Susie, do you understand BATNA? Susie in your red t-shirt, can you wave your hand? Good, excellent. Key points when aiming for a win-win outcome. 1, everybody, I want you to read it with me. Focus on maintaining the relationship. Everyone, focus on maintaining the relationship. Separate the people from the problem. Do not get emotional. Do not let emotions dictate business. Leave emotions at home. Deal with the issues. Number 2, everybody read it. Focus on interests, not positions. Do not go in there and say, I want $25 a piece. I don't care. Therefore, you're not going to get the business. Focus on the position. Focus on the interest in the position, not the position itself. Forgive me. So if you say $25 or nothing, and that's the only thing you think of, you will not get win-win. Focus on the interest. What is the interest? The interest is you want the business. You want them to buy your goods. The business needs more customers. Focus on that. Then listen to what they want and then refer to your BATNA. Do you all understand that? Yes or no? Because remember, in BATNA, you already have written down what your lowest price will be. But before you throw that, make sure you listen to what they have to say, focusing on what they want and what is best for your business before you focus on your final position. Okay? Number 3, make sure you generate a variety of options before you go to the meeting. Remember, in BATNA, we said you have to generate alternatives and evaluate those before you go to the meeting. The alternatives are the variety of options. As Peter just said to you, Mr. Peter Conte said, he offers his customers 4 or 5 different choices of room with breakfast, with aircon, with fan, etc. Make sure you have the options on the table before you go in. make sure that you set yourself a mindset that the result that you want will be based on the objective standards that you listed in your BATNA. Remember, because in your BATNA, you already listed what are the advantages and disadvantages of each and every alternative. So make sure you memorize those before you go into the negotiating table. Does everybody understand what you need for a win-win outcome? You cannot get a win-win outcome if you don't have BATNA. Let me give you an example of BATNA in diagrammatical form so you all know what I'm talking about. This is BATNA, and these are examples, the engineer's BATNA and the company's BATNA. All right, engineers, other alternatives, example, 1,000K salary for a less desirable job, 880K salary at an equally desirable job, okay? Or staying on the market to wait for a better offer. Engineer's BATNA is 100K salary at available desirable job. I'm an engineer, okay? And I am looking for 100K because I have to go and live in Germany. But the offer I have on the table is only 80K, and I still have to live in Germany and pay higher taxation. What's his BATNA? Okay, his BATNA says, I want 100,000. The minimum I'm prepared to accept is 80,000, providing I still work in Germany, even though it might not be the best offer that I was hoping for. Let's go to the company. The company says 120K salary maximum for the best candidate. And, okay, sorry, let me go the other way. 120K maximum for the average candidate and 140K for the best candidate. Okay, now if they can't get the best candidate for 140K, their only option would be continue searching for a better candidate, right? Now let's look at that from the engineer's BATNA, right? The engineer said he wanted 100,000, okay? And the engineer will say to himself that 100,000 for the job that I want. Germany, 100,000 would cover my taxes. I would be able to live comfortably. Okay, but then when he goes to the company says, well, you know, you're not really the ideal candidate. We're only prepared to offer you 90,000 because of your experience. Okay, all right, 90,000. But according to the engineer, he says, well, you know, 80,000, I could still live in Germany. I could still survive. Now, he can accept that. He can accept that, or he can turn it down. If he turns it down, he would have to wait till another company considered him good enough for 100K. If that happens, for the actual company itself, if he doesn't accept that, they have to look at two things. One, was he really not good enough for the 120K? Or was it that they didn't want to spend that money? Was that really their minimum? Okay, because if they don't hire someone, there's also a cost to them. That means they have to keep looking. They may be short of engineers, and that could affect their productivity because they don't have engineers. All right, now I want you to focus on one other word there called ZOPA. Can everybody say ZOPA? Z-O-P-A. Everybody say ZOPA. Susie, say ZOPA. Good, excellent. Let me explain what ZOPA means. ZOPA is the zone of possible agreement. Zone of possible agreement, all right? So what is the zone of possible agreement? Okay, just the seller's reservation price, the minimum seller's price. The seller, the company said the minimum would be 120,000. The maximum would be 140,000. The buyer's price, the employee, the engineer looking for the job, okay, he said that the minimum he's prepared to accept is 80,000, but his optimum price was 100,000 a month. Do you all understand that? Okay. So for every negotiation, there is a minimum seller's price and the most the buyer is prepared to pay. Am I right or wrong? Do you understand that? Okay. So the company employing the engineer, that is the minimum they're prepared to pay. For somebody who's less qualified, they're prepared to pay 120,000 or up to 120,000. For the engineer who thinks he's very qualified, his minimum or his benchmark was 100,000, but he's prepared to take only 80,000. So the seller's best alternative is the employer's highest salary that he's prepared to offer. The buyer's best alternative is the engineer's lowest salary he's prepared to accept. Do you understand that, Susie? Yes or no? You don't. Okay, explain it to me, Susie. Open your microphone, Susie. So, Susie, the reservation value for the employer is, okay, the employer is the best offer that he's prepared to give the engineer to work for him. Is that right? That would be for the employer, correct? For the engineer, the best alternative would be the highest price that the company was prepared to pay, which would mean the value above the 80,000 minimum that the engineer had set himself. Do you understand that, Susie? Yes or no? I can't hear you, Susie. Do you understand what I said?
Actually,
yes or no?
I didn't understand. Actually,
Good. Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you very much. Hey, Hazelika, do you understand what I said by Zopa? Hazelika, can you open your microphone? Hazelkia, sorry. Hazelkia, do you understand what I said?
Hello, good afternoon. I could not listen properly because my net is so...
Okay, let me just explain again. Remember, we said that here we have an engineer. The engineer says that the salary he would like to get is 100,000, but his minimum salary would be 80,000. The company has said that if the candidate is not as qualified as they want, they're prepared to go to 120,000, but for the best candidate, they're prepared to go up to 140,000. Now, if they can't secure the best candidate at the right price, then they'll continue searching for a candidate. If this guy, the engineer, doesn't get 80,000, then he has to keep looking for a job. So what is Zopa? Zopa is the zone of possible agreement. So what is the zone of possible agreement? For the company, okay, if he has less experience, the maximum they're prepared to pay is 120,000. If he is very well qualified, the best they're prepared to pay is 140,000. Otherwise, they can't employ him. For the actual engineer, what's his best alternative? He wants 100,000, but if he can't get that, his best alternative would be 80,000 pounds, which is his BATNA, what he said he wants, or he would have to keep looking for another job. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so do you understand what Zopa means?
Yes, it's a possible agreement that you have choice to, if there is an opportunity to have another opening job for you that is higher salary.
Right. Can you explain to me, when should you know this? Should you know your Zopa before you start the negotiation or after?
Pardon me?
When should you decide Zopa? If you're going into a negotiation, should you know your zone or price acceptability before you start the negotiation or after?
I think for me, before the negotiation.
Thank you very much. Good. Excellent. You need to know your zone of possible agreement before you go into the negotiation. Thank you so much. Zinma, Do you understand that today, Zinma, in your beautiful green t-shirt? You look so young and so beautiful today. Do you understand what I just said, Zinma? Are you there, Zinma? Can you unmute your microphone? Are you there, Zinma? Hello. Is your microphone working today? Wave your hand. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Let me move on. Okay. Does everybody else understand? Amal, do you understand what the zone of possible agreement is? Okay, thank you. Muhammad Usman, good to see you again today. Muhammad, do you understand what Zupa is? Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. Jumi Tile, are you there, Jumi? Do you understand what the zone of possible agreement or ZOPA is? Yes or no? Okay, great, excellent. Okay, all right, let's go on. What makes a good negotiator? I want you to write this down. The following examples, Samir, make a good negotiator. You've expressed your points very clearly, and I can now appreciate what you're offering me. However, that is a good negotiator. Another alternative answer to say to your customer, it's clear that you are very concerned about the issue of price or quality. I am myself also wanting to provide you what you need. But from my point of view, in order for me to be able to provide you the quality you want, this is what I need. All right. So you don't say no outright. You answer it with an open mind. That's what a negotiator is. Because if you don't answer it, giving them a chance to counter, you're becoming a dictator, not a negotiator. Hitler wasn't a negotiator. Hitler was a dictator. Would you all agree with that? You all know Hitler, Adolf Hitler, Germany. All right. He was a dictator. So when you go to the negotiation table, you need to be able to express yourself the right way to leave room open during the objective communication cycle. What was the objective communication cycle? You need to be able to hear feedback and come to a compromise. All right, let's go on. Instead of saying, you're making me waste a lot of time on carrying on with this argument, I told you my minimum price is $20. What you're going to do by using that negative dictatorship language is lose the customer or the chance of going into a business deal or an agreement. You could say, I'm not able to spend so much allowing you to buy at that price because that would basically mean that I don't make any money. And I want us both to have a win-win situation. Can you tell me what other compromises can we make so far as a quality or delivery time that may be able to help me resolve the price issue? Do you understand what I mean by that, Samir? So I'm asking questions, try to reach a compromise. Do you follow what I'm saying, Samir? Can you unmute your microphone, Samir? Samir, are you there? I'll come back to you. Okay, all right. I can't see your hand, Samir. I'm sorry. Okay, you'll move somewhere in the picture. Okay, are you there, Samir? Can you hear me? Do you understand what I mean, mate? Yeah, did you hear what I said? Do you understand what I'm explaining?
Yeah, thanks. Those statements are interesting.
Yeah.
And to be even more interesting, I think we may say, instead of saying, however, yet, but, it's not to say no. It's even something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of saying, however, yet, but, we can say, as I'm saying now,
yeah,
it's interesting, and to be even more interesting then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of, however, but, or yet, or this.
Absolutely, Samir. You remind me, Simon, many years ago, I was in Bahrain with the Ministry of Manpower or the Ministry of Employment in Bahrain. And we had to employ 80,000 Bahrainis within 6 months because these rich Bahraini kids had been sent to universities overseas, but came back and were too lazy to work because they wanted to live off the government pension or the government allowance that they give them every month, which is the equivalent of about $2,000 a month for sitting at home and doing nothing. Our target was to put most of these students to work because the government had spent millions educating them. And it was exactly that. When you sat with the local and tried to convince him that going back to work is most suitable, I could not say, no, you cannot have it your way. I had to say, very interesting, I understand your point of view that you only want to work these hours because you're a local. However, let's talk about what are the possibilities of anybody allowing you to work only 2 hours a day. So what Samir is saying, by using the right language and trying to reach a common ground or trying to explain common sense or common reasoning, usually you have a better chance of reaching an agreement. Is that what you're trying to say, Samir?
That said, something additional, which is to not use propositions like however, but, yet.
Very good
not
point.
To use these propositions also. It's not just don't say no. Even when we say yes, in the middle of these statements, phrases, we may not to use this kind of propositions.
Okay, let
like
me
however, or
okay,
but, or yet.
Let me just create something. Samir,
This phrase,
but,
yeah.
I would never use but. However is safer than but I definitely would never use the word but, maybe. However, you can use providing you acknowledge what they've said. You've expressed your points and I'm very interested in what you've said. I appreciate your position. However, let me explain my position, but I would never use but or maybe. However is a bit safer, providing you use it within certain guidelines. But go ahead, Samir. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the point. This was the point.
Okay, but do you agree with me? Is me and you on the same page?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Simon. It's good to see you again. All right, guys, let's go on. So by not allowing disagreements over issues to become disagreements, by locking out your emotions and focusing on the facts in front of you, by having a BATNA and knowing what your zone of acceptance is, you will be able to have a possible outcome regardless, a positive outcome, regardless of whether you end up doing business or not. So you both walk away respecting each other's compromises or each other's disagreement. But what you will not do is walk away having made enemies in your industry. All right. And usually, if you follow or go into a meeting prepared with a BATNA, with a ZOPA, a zone of alternative acceptance, okay, or a zone of acceptance, sorry, knowing what your maximum minimum alternatives are, usually it will ease the negotiation because you will have already decided what are your alternatives before you sit down with the client. And remember, every negotiation is the door for another negotiation. It's like a cherry and the seed in the cherry. You all know cherries? Everybody has a cherry? Does everybody eat cherries here? Wave your hands. Pips and cherries. Does everybody know a cherry? So when I buy a cherry, I eat the cherry. I put the pip in the ground. I throw it in the garden. Eventually, if I water that pip, it will come up and grow more cherries, right? However, if I eat the cherry and throw the pip in the rubbish bin, will I grow more cherries? No. Right or wrong? Yes or no? So every time you go into a negotiation, you're not there to make enemies. Even though you can't reach a level of compromise or a ground where there's a win-win situation, you always want to leave the door open for future negotiations. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? Yes or no? Do you understand, Susie? Okay, great. Let me switch off my slide and let me take some questions. I'm dying to talk to you all. Just hold on. Okay, let's go back and let's take questions about effective negotiation skills. Who's first? Any questions? Go on. Come on. I'm not getting any questions. Does that mean I'm a great teacher, or you all understand, or you're all excellent negotiators? Okay, now they're coming in. This is what I like. All right, hands are going up. All right, Emma, tell me, what's your question?
Thank you, Wally, for the great session today. I really,
welcome.
I would like to share you about my issue recently because it relates to our lesson today. Our company is selling raw material to the automotive, and our customer have some benefits after they using our material instead of our competitor. So, but what happened recently, because customer already signed a contract with us, but after because of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, so our company need to have shortage some additive, and the price must going up. So we inform to customer the situation and ask the agreement from customer to increase the price, even they already signed the contract. So the issue is customer they don't accept to increase because we already signed. And
okay.
We convince customer because if they don't because they have the cost down after using our material 10%. But if they stop buying our material right now, then in the future they also lose. Mean that now
Yes.
we lose the customer, but customer they also lose in the future, right? So
right.
There is lose if customer they reject.
Right.
us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, what do you think you've learned from today, and how is that going to help you?
I would like to know how to, when in the situation if customer they reject our increasing price, so how to convince customer to accept our mean that convince they accept our situation.
All right, good, excellent. So can I ask you, are you someone who conducts negotiations every day?
This is not everyday situation.
All right, so when was the last time you conducted a negotiation?
This is the last month.
Okay, and tell me, how long did the negotiation take, and did you follow all the issues that I've just spoken to you now?
Yes, I also follow and arrange the meeting with customer, and also give some how to say we also, because the customer they always stick on the contract. They say the contract already signed, so they reject all the explanation from us.
Yep. Okay, so let me just explain. So next time you go into a negotiation, you need to make sure you're prepared, right? You need to make sure you follow an objective communication cycle. You need to make sure you're always focused on a win-win situation, not a win-lose situation. You should always make sure that during your preparation stage, you know who you're talking to, who are they, what's in it for us, what are we going to win out of this, what are we going to get out of this, what are the disadvantages, what can we lose out of this, what are the options we have, and why do they want to talk to us? All right, who are they? Are they our competitor? Are they our equal? Are they a supplier who needs our product, evaluate it. How big is their market? Can they generate enough business for us? So all of that is part of preparation. So when you go through preparation, before you start the communication, the objective communication cycle, you need to have BATNA. All right, you all know what BATNA is. We just discussed it. You all need to know what are all the possible services or scenarios that you can offer them. What are the advantages and disadvantage of each alternative service that you can offer this person that you want to talk to, because you already know who they are, what's in it for you, what's in it for them. You already know how big they are and how big a market player they are. All right. So you understand all of that. Okay. So you need to have BATNA. Once you've gotten BATNA, you also need to know clear definition of your zone of acceptance. What is your ZOPA? If you know your ZOPA and you know your BATNA, then you're on a clear track to negotiation. Now listen carefully. You made a point there, Emma, that sometimes the customers tell you something, you go and check, and it's different, right? Isn't that what you just said?
Yes.
But let me tell you why that happens. It's because you haven't done your homework. That means that previously when you negotiated with the customer, you ignored agreeing the mindset. Remember, we said at the end of the objective communication cycle, there must be a clear mindset of what is being communicated. That means that you failed that, because obviously the customer has walked away thinking you promised something that you didn't promise. But what most companies do is they take the defensive. They always say, oh no, it's the customer, not us. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Emma?
Yes.
So 99.9% of the time, I'm afraid to tell you, young lady, it's not the customer, it's the company. Because you have failed to clarify or put clarity on what you're doing for the customer, okay? And that means that at the end of the communication cycle, you say, Mr. Smith, let me clarify what we've agreed. Our objective is to supply you 1 million tons of long grain rice. The long grain rice has to be of grade A. The long grain rice has to be packed in the following format. It must be shipped with the following specifications, and it must be shipped at this price. In return, you guarantee to buy 100 million tons of rice a year. Is that what we have agreed here today? Yes. Let me confirm that to you in writing within 48 hours before we move towards contract. Do you understand what I mean by setting a clear mindset? And what we find, Emma, most of the time, even with government, what happens is a government will send one of their head of department, you know, their permanent secretary, go to another country and discuss a project like Singapore and Malaysia. They discuss building a train line between Singapore and Malaysia. But when they discussed it, unfortunately, there wasn't clarification on who was going to manage which part and the standards required and the amount of money they had to invest. So what happened eventually is Malaysia ran out of money, as you know, and the contract for the train line had to be cancelled. Malaysia ended up paying Singapore compensation for pulling out. But what came as a result of that is many people say that there was no clarity about what both sides wanted out of the project. They were so hyped up that they wanted to build this fast train service between the two countries. No one asked the question, hold on, who's going to service it on our side? How much of it are you going to service on your side? Who has control of my side? Who has control of your side? And how are we going to split up the cost? Eventually, Malaysia realized that it was too expensive. They pulled out. So it wasn't a win for either side. It was a loss, because the 300 million that they paid Singapore will not compensate the people who went and bought houses in that area thinking that their house or their real estate was going to surge up and that we're going to be able to sell it once this train line opens. They've lost their money now. So it was a loss for Malaysia. It was a loss for Singapore. And why does that happen? It usually happens because of lack of competency in the people that are negotiating, because the objective communication framework is sometimes not followed. Don't matter which academic you ask. It doesn't matter whether you talk to me or Kotler or some of the biggest names in negotiation skills. They will tell you that the biggest failure in negotiation is not the customer. It's the fact that both the customer and the provider fail to set a clear mindset through lack of clarity, through lack of open communication. Why? Because you as a company are in a hurry to close the deal. So providing the customer thinks you've agreed to everything, you let them think that, and later down the line, what happens? There's a lack of transparency, and what happens? Then we hear companies saying, oh, the customer claims this, but that's not true. Well, it is true because it wasn't clarified at point A. And, you know, I've heard this many times. And really, when you go back and play the tape, or you go back and listen to what the customer said, and the customer will say, this is what you told me. And you'll say, correct. But this is not what you documented in your records. And that's what happens. And there's a loss for both sides, because that customer will lose confidence in negotiating with you again. And for you as a company, you will say to yourself, do I really want to do business with them? There's too much effort, too much time, and too much cost. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Emma?
Yes, I understand.
So what you should do, Emma, is always focus on the objective communication cycle. And for you, Emma, based on what you've told me, the most critical part for you is that last part of the objective communication cycle. It's the open mindset and understanding of what was discussed. So always close your discussion by reiterating what was agreed and seeking confirmation. So what I'll do, sir, is now that I have your agreement, can I confirm this in writing for you today before we move to implementation? Do you understand that? And what you then say to the customer, if he ever questions it, please refer to my email. After our negotiation discussion on the 20th of November last year, we actually discussed it, we both agreed, and we confirmed by email shortly after. And what that does, Emma, is it irons out any question. Now, let me tell you, you will still get some customers who try to play the game, all right? You know that, I know that too. But by having that documented email, you're gonna iron out most of that. But what some companies do, Emma, and I'm sure it's common, they do the negotiation, and after that, they say to the customer, thank you, we'll send you a contract, all right? Customer gets the contract, they go into the boss's office, the boss says to the executive, did you discuss all of this? Yes, boss. The boss signs it. Contract comes back 6 months later, that executive has left the company, and they start asking questions. But why have we done that? You told, my staff told me you agreed to this, right? Okay, all right, so what is happening is there's no lack of clarification. So the open mindset stage is where you discuss, and during your final discussions, you say, okay, can I ask you, who will the signatory be for this? Is he here today? But you should know that before you start the negotiation, because you should know I'm dealing with XYZ. What's the position? He's a finance officer. He's the purchasing officer. So when you go to the final negotiation table, you say to him, oh, Joe, this matter still has to be approved by your CEO. So let me draft an email first. Let your CEO read it to make sure there's no question about what we've discussed between me and you. And providing he gives the okay, I'll prepare a contract. Do you understand the gray area or the dilemma you put yourself in, Emma? Does that help you?
Yes, it's really helping me. Yeah, but
okay.
but only sometimes, because customer, I know in this situation we already signed the contract, but we increase the price suddenly, so customer they cannot accept. But for the market try, customer also know that everyone increase the price. Is not only our company. So this is not only one customer facing this issue. So this is out of the beyond of our control.
I understand that, Emma, but for you as a young person, you may need to implement ideas on how to improve this, you need to go back to your boss and say, listen, boss, it's not happened only with one customer. It's happened with 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. So why don't we introduce this new stage in our process? Whoever negotiates must set down the terms of the negotiation by email. The customer must reply to the email and accept them before we go to contract. All right. You know, Emma, I don't know if you've attended some of my other sessions. There's 2 ways you can succeed in business. You can either do things the way that you've already done them, or you can be open-minded and try to improve process, okay? If you continue to do things your way and don't improve the process, then business will never become more productive, all right? I'm being honest with you, okay? Let me give you an example. If you talk about Airbus and Singapore Airlines, or Boeing and Singapore Airlines, let's talk about this. These airlines buy 50 or 60 aircraft. They probably spend $20 billion for one order, okay? Each aircraft is at 400 million, and they probably buy 30 aircraft. You're probably talking 30 billion, all right? Okay, so when they come to buy this, do you think they only have one discussion? Do you think it's only one discussion? They probably go into 6 months of discussions. Every discussion they'll walk away and emails will go back. The email will go from the procurement team to the chief engineer to the CEO, and they'll come up with questions. They'll go back to the negotiating table. Emails will fly, all right? Then they will agree. Email will go from the actual salesman at Airbus or the sales team to the director of sales at Airbus, and they'll say, this is what we've agreed with SQ. An email will go from him back to the team saying, we concur, formalize it, all right? They will email the airline's purchasing team and say, this is what we're prepared to offer based on this purchase price and these terms. The procurement team, the buying team at the airline will then go back to the CEO and the board, because they have a board of directors. Come on, it's $30 billion. The purchasing officer can't sign it off, and he will stand in front of that board and he will say, these are the terms we've agreed with Boeing. And the board will negotiate. They'll probably come up with some alterations. Emails will go back. Finally, they'll agree, and the board will say, go to contract, okay? Get a contract issued. And the board will instruct the buying team, we're going to pay for it by borrowed money, by leasing through a leasing company, or it'll be paid for by, you know, the bank. Our bank will finance it, all right? All of these instructions have to be given for contract, all right? But before Boeing issues a contract, before any contract is signed, do you think they do it based on verbatim? No way. It's all on paper. All right. And if you don't have that process in place, you will never be able to eliminate the time you're wasting with the number of customers you're handling. Do you understand me, Emma? If you need me to actually help you draft an email or a plan on how to convince your management to do this, just drop me an email or WhatsApp, and I'm happy to coach you on how to present it. But you need to present it in a way to show your management that this will save time, not only for you, but for the team who manages the contract, for the team who negotiates the contract, and for the finance department in collecting payment later, which is the most important part, right? Because if they don't collect money, you lose your job. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Correct.
You know, I'll tell you the most frustrating part, Emma, because I have to answer other questions. Many years ago, when I was a young kid studying, I decided to make money. I decided to sell insurance door to door, right? I decided to go and knock on doors. And in Australia, when we sell insurance, it's not like now financial planners. We used to walk around buildings, 400 flats. We used to go to the top floor and knock on every door, right? And you would stand outside and you would hope that this housewife would agree and just say yes and sign, all right? But what happened after that, I sent all the paperwork to the office, 300 contracts, but only 20 of them paid, right? 20 paid. What did I do? I wasted a whole day, nothing, right? So then I said to my insurance agency, the head of my agency, listen, this is not working. I'm going to start a new policy. From now on, every time I knock on the door and they say yes, I'm going to ask them to give me a check for the first month or their credit card number. And he said, great idea, but there's only one issue. What happens if you lose the check or lose the credit card number? I said, that becomes my responsibility. I take responsibility for that. All right. So he had to go back to the insurance company, which was Prudential, and get their approval. And guess what they said? Hey, this is great. You tell them to write the check to Prudential, you deliver it to us with the paperwork, and we'll issue the policy much quicker because we don't have to issue an invoice anymore. It's quicker, right? Within 3 weeks, Emma, Wally became Wally. They called it the Wally process. All right. As a result of the Wally process, they developed what's called the financial fact find, which are questions and answers to help these housewives decide whether they could afford our insurance, right? The financial fact find is now used worldwide. Wally was only a dumbass university student who developed it and it became famous. But then I went on to work for insurers and I implemented it for them after I graduated and made money. All right. But what I'm saying, Emma, is if you don't come out of your box, come out of your mindset and have the confidence to present new processes to your company, are you ever going to get promoted, Emma? You're not, right? Have you been promoted recently, Emma?
Yes, I get it.
When was your last promotion?
This year, early of this year.
But in how long? How long did it take you to get promoted?
After 3 years.
Okay, Emma, can I say something to you? 3 years is a long time. My first promotion came after 3 months. My second one came after 9 months. My third one came after 12 months. Then I resigned to come to Singapore and marry my wife. But what I'm saying to Emma is the only way you're going to see a career track and for you to move from where you are now to the future is for you to suggest new ideas. But if you just sit on that chair every day, Emma, and keep regurgitating a system which doesn't work, which is what you're telling me, nothing's going to change. Why did your boss promote you? He promoted you because he thought you were good and he's hoping that you're going to come up with new ideas. Is that right or wrong? Yeah? Emma, let me tell you, do you know Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs, you know him?
Yes.
He founded Apple. Do you know Steve Jobs' story?
Yes.
Do you all know the Steve Jobs story? He started by working in the garage with his father, repairing secondhand electronics, which his father used to bring from the shop where he was a salesman earning peanuts, right? In his very low, cheap house, normal average house, not millionaire house. After that, he wanted to work in the electronic world. That was his dream. He wanted to go to the best school to learn technology and computer and business. He didn't want to go. He was offered a chance to go to one of the best universities in the world, but he chose to go to another school called Reed College, which was more expensive than the university he could have gone to, but his father obliged. His father worked his heart out night and day to pay for it. Steve Jobs went to Reed College. He was there for a few months and then decided that he was sick of studying. He decided he wanted to travel India and learn about calligraphy. Okay, he did. He came back in some order or sequence. He got a job with Atari. You know, Atari, the game maker, the TV game maker, 30 years ago, before the Sony PlayStation came up. He worked for Atari for 2 years. Then he went to Apple. He wasn't very good at Apple. They didn't keep him. He walked away. He went and started his own technology company. Guess what happened? Does anybody know how Steve Jobs got back to Apple? Do you know? How did he go back to Apple, Emma? They bought his company. And when they bought his electronics company, they said to him, what you did after we let you go, because we couldn't agree with you, you had different ideas, has made you millions. We now want to buy you and the company you started. They bought him. They brought him back to Apple. They made him CEO of Apple, right? But why did they buy him back, Emma? Why do you think Apple brought him back? Was it because his name was Steve Jobs? No. It's because Steve Jobs had his own ideas about the way technology had to be created. He had his own way of building technology to meet consumer demand. So he did that, and his company grew out of proportion. So what did Apple say to itself? Hey, If we can bring him in and he can do that for us, what will happen to Apple Inc.? Apple Inc. became one of the greatest companies in the world whilst he was around. When Steve Jobs died, he died on the job. He wrote a blueprint on paper for 20 years. He gave them the technology, the framework, the suppliers. He told them exactly what to do. Steve Jobs passed away in hospital. Okay, he passed away while he was still CEO. Second man in charge by the name of Tim Cook took over. Tim Cook, Steve Jobs knew each other from Stanford, from Reed College, all right? They knew each other. They were buddies. They used to play together in the garage, okay? So when Tim Cook took over, Tim Cook thought that he could continue the trilogy or the legacy that Steve Jobs brought to Apple. He failed. Why? Because the way he thinks, the way he comes up with new ideas is not Steve Jobs. The blueprint that Steve Jobs left, finished. What happened when that blueprint finished? Apple recalled a phone internationally for the first time ever in their life. They have recalled phones before, but they haven't recalled the whole phone. They recalled the battery, they recalled a certain color, they recalled the charger. But for the first time after 20 years, they had a major international recall. They recalled every phone that was sold and they pulled that phone off the market. A few months later, they brought it back as a new phone. Why? Because the Steve Jobs thinking, Steve Jobs' way of thinking, the way he thought out of the box, the way he was prepared to explore new ideas, put new designs or new ideas on the table as part of his BATNA before he went and convinced the board that he was going to spend $1 million developing a new product and a new assembly line at Foxconn. All right. It wasn't there anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying, Emma? Do you understand what I'm trying to explain to you? Emma, there's a word I want you to write down now. Write this down. Eccentric. E-C-C-E-N-T-R-I-C. I want you to repeat after me, Emma. I will be eccentric.
I will be eccentric.
Every morning when you go to work, Emma, I want you to forget your old schoolgirl thinking. Go to work, do the job, get paid. That's safe. I want you to put that idea down the toilet and flush the toilet because that idea is not going to make you successful. I want you to say to yourself every morning, I will be eccentric. I am going to start thinking out of the box. I am going to think of every bloody idea that no one else in my company has thought of. I'm going to keep writing proposals and I'm going to keep suggesting them to my manager. And I'm going to work day and night to prove to him that these ideas will increase productivity for the company. Do you understand what I'm coming from, Emma?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Thank you.
And Emma, listen, if you need any help in using the right words, you know, I give you, you've had my email before, you have my WhatsApp number. Mr. Amala, please share my email address with the class, BizTalk. Please share my WhatsApp number with this BizTalk 56, I think it is, am I right? BizTalk 56. And please, if you email me or message me regarding this, say Emma BizTalk 56, Iris BizTalk 56, because I need to remember who you are and I see thousands of students every day. All right. So does everybody understand where I'm coming from? I want you all to switch on your microphones. Everybody on your microphone. Let's do it now. Come on, everybody, open your microphone now. Come on. What is wrong with all you guys? Come on, open your microphone. Everybody, unmute your microphone.
Yes.
Open, everyone. Hey, everyone. Hi, guys.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Hello. Hi.
Thanks.
Hello, hi.
Hi everyone.
Okay. All right. We tried that. Obviously, it didn't work because you're all trying to be better than me, but that's okay. Everybody, I want you to say, I can. Everybody say, I can. I can. All right, good. Ladies and gentlemen, effective negotiation is a tool that you put in your basket that will help you not only in your personal life, but also in your business life. Does everybody understand that? And Emma, thank you so much for sharing that experience with me. Mayen, I look forward to hearing from you soon. To all of you, my next BizTalk will be in the last week of November 2022, and we will be looking at the business tools you need to use, which we discussed at my last BizTalk. All right. So for all of you who have been waiting for those business tools, we will go through them in a 2-hour session in BizTalk 57, which is on the last Saturday in November. I know some of you have been asking me for them. It was part of business continuity management, and I will share all of those tools with you at the next BizTalk. From me, Wally Rada, here in Singapore, I thank you all for being here tonight. I love you all. You're all studying with us. You're all diploma students. You're all postgraduate diploma students. I've seen some of your results. Some of you are high distinction students. It's so much privilege and so much motivation for me to see you scoring results. I remember some of your faces the day that I did an orientation and tried to convince you to join our classes. Some of you were immature children. Now you're becoming professional students. I've read some of your exam papers. I've read some of the project management papers that some of you have written. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud of you all. Study hard, focus, and take everything that you learn here into your everyday life, because these tools are not only for business, they're for your personal life. Look at you. Look at Amal, who has to find a husband one day. Look at Mercy. Look at Marilith. Look at Karma. I'm not sure. I think Karma's married. Look at Jennifer. I think Jennifer may be looking for a boyfriend. Okay, I don't know. Let's look at Iris. I'm not sure if Iris is looking for a boyfriend. These skills can help you. Emma, are you looking for a boyfriend? Are you married? Are you open your microphone, Emma? Are you married or are you looking?
Yes.
You're married?
I'm married.
All right.
And
So
I have a son.
Okay, how old is your son, Emma?
He's 10 years old.
Okay, every night your son discusses something with you and Mummy and says, Mummy, I need a new iPad. I need a new iPhone. Mummy, I want to go out and eat chocolate ice cream. Remember your negotiation skills. All right, gorgeous? Okay, otherwise he'll grow up like me, spoiled. All right? Do you understand that? And give your son my humble, warm, is that the little guy that was sitting next to you before?
Yes. Yeah,
call him. Can you call him and wave to me? Get him. Call him. Where is he? Call him.
He's outside already.
All right.
He's
Okay.
go out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Give my regards to him, and hopefully one day he will CEO of a company like his mum. All right. Take care, everybody. God bless you all. From Wally to everyone, God bless you. There's a few students who have tried to contact me, Amal and a few others with questions. Guys, I've tried to call you back. I can't reach you. For the love of God, try to call me tomorrow during the day when you're free. Just call me on WhatsApp tomorrow and I'll answer your questions. Anytime tomorrow during the day, just give me a call via WhatsApp. All right, Amal?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Wally.
Amal Arif, did you hear me? Okay, Amal, good girl. All right, guys. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mr. Jesucito. I still haven't learned how to use your app, Jesucito. I might need to talk to you about your app. I think we can improve it. There's a lot of customer-centric experience that we can add to it, mate. Maybe one day give me a call. Let me give you some tips. Would that be okay? All right. Give me a call. All right. Thanks, everybody. God bless you all. I love you all. See you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye.